for true.
Welcome to Duality Check, the podcast where two brothers embark on a journey through the realms of scientific inquiry, the mysteries of the past, and the uncharted frontiers of spirituality. Join us as we explore the wonders of our world and beyond, all while embracing the roles of curious bystanders rather than experts. Together, we'll unravel the tapestry of existence, blending the dichotomies of knowledge and wonder. Get ready to question, ponder, and delve into the dualities that shape our understanding of reality on Duality Check. I'm Drew.
And I'm Dean, and welcome to episode number 65.
5, yeah.
Yeah, so we're pre-recording this one. This is going to come out a little later, but as of the week we're recording this, I think what a good chunk of the show is going to be is about the new, all this crazy stuff coming out about the pyramids.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing this? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I've also got some interesting clips I snipped from, what is it, Zohan and Danny Goler.
On Danny Jones' podcast. Yeah, I watched some of that.
Yeah.
I didn't finish it, but
I got some snips that I found pretty interesting that I thought it'd be cool to talk about.
Cool.
But before we start, we've got some communications from some listeners, but I also wanted to show you this book. I haven't showed it to you yet. I just bought this. Check this out.
Oh, wow.
Let the listeners know what it is.
The Illustrated Field Guide to DMT Entities, Machine Elves, Tricksters, Teachers, and other interdimensional beings.
Yeah, dude.
So it goes over, so it's got a bunch of pictures and descriptions of like what these entities were like based on people's encounters.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, they've like dug through the internet and like research articles and stuff, like people whose like trip reports, and they've like mined them for all the different types of DMT entities and put together the different archetypes and like what are the commonalities people say about them, and the art is really cool in an interesting way. So there's two people who are involved in the book. There's the writer and the artist. And the artist, she used an AI aided technique.
Oh,
so
really?
it's not all just straight up AI art, and it does feature a lot of like famous psychedelic artists throughout the book too. But
it's like AI art that they
yeah,
change themselves.
Yeah, so she gives a whole introduction to the book where she talks about why she chose this method. And she said, because she's been, as an artist, like curious about how AR art works, and she's been playing with it, and she has the opinion that it's essentially because it sucked up all of human art, basically, and broken it down so that you can just enter words in order to generate these art pieces, right? And so she sees it as like almost like a collective unconscious of human art.
Well, and the thing is too, like AI is not even just taking in art; it's taking in all imagery. So we're talking about photos and all these other things. So that it can pull from all.
Right.
Whereas humans have a little bit harder time with that. Maybe not.
Really all of us take in
artist, but
photographic through our eyes all day, every day, right? But like,
to really.
But the way she sees it is, so she's taking like snippets of like how people are describing these entities from all the different reports and using it as like incantations to like give into the collective subconscious of our human art and have the AI spit out these ideas, and then she uses those as starting points and then like basically finishes them or like goes based off of the inspiration that the AI is coming up with. And she said, had she not done this, like there's no way she could have produced the amount of art she produced for this book.
Well, I mean, you can go on large scale and then...
But also at the same time, she then said like she would go and show a bunch of people who are experienced with DMT some of these, and people would have recognition like for some of these images, people would be like, that's like literally the closest I've ever seen someone like nail this concept of this entity I've been trying to describe.
Oh wow.
So anyway, I haven't seen all that many entities myself yet, so I've I've seen that weird floating orb. I'll be surprised if I see that in the book. But I did my own
beam of light.
I did my own best AI approach to that for the cover art for that episode where we talked about it. But
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. When you're done with it, let me know. I want to take a look.
For sure.
Yeah. We want to start with I found that guy again.
Which guy?
The Shaolin monk.
Oh, cool.
I put him in here. Let me.
Wait.
Shi Hang Yi wisdom.
Let's do the listener stuff first.
Oh, yeah. We'll come back
and
to this.
then I also realized I set our audio up wrong. So let me just do a quick pause that will be nothing to you, and then we'll go over these listener messages. So,
all right, let's do that.
All right, one sec. And we're back. Okay, so.
All right. Number one fan here.
Yeah, number one fan, sister. She's like, you called me out. My interpretation of the death card pulled for your question. She says, in order for you and your listeners to connect fully, there needs to be a letting go of resistance / a death of old beliefs. Maybe the show or the listener needs to let go of some past beliefs that are no longer needed. The podcast Duality Check is pretty spot on for learning some new things and being open-minded and getting your listeners ready for new possibilities. Not only for the listeners, but for you guys as well. I feel some shedding of old stagnant beliefs. You're already doing this so intuitively, trying new things and opening and expanding your minds. And we reap the benefits with you guys sharing on your podcast with us. Thank you. I like how you guys discuss death as just being part of the duality of life that allows the newness and growth. This card fits beautifully, in my opinion. That's all right. So yes, but remember we drew it upside down.
True.
So what does that mean in that case? That was the part that confused me.
Well, I mean, I feel like you still have to take into account that it's a death card, regardless.
Sure.
So whether it's upside down, maybe it's just we have to flip our beliefs upside down in order to die an ego death or some sort of like intellectual death to like allow ourselves to connect with these things, or at least based on what she was kind of her idea.
Yeah.
Her interpretation.
Then she sent another message. I didn't see this.
Oh, yeah.
It says, random thing popped into my head tonight. Lurk. And she got a little kitty emoji. She's like, Dean, as I recall, you loved that cat and had a really special bond. Ever think why? Like, apply all this knowledge you've accumulated on the podcast. Telepathy, consciousness, past lives, your DMT trip. Drew, your kids are obsessed with cats. Something to make you go, huh. Interesting. Side note, I totally believe our pets are part of our soul family that incarnate with us. What an interesting idea. Like, what if there is a spirit or an entity that intends to incarnate as like a child in the family in the future, but that spirit knows that it's not time yet and it won't be time for a while. So maybe they incarnate as a pet that's going to end up with that family. And so that they can, be there in the meantime. I think that's kind of what she's saying.
Yeah.
But that's super interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and then she made a joke about her dog. She's been talking about how her dog Jasper has been like acting like a cat. Like he like gets up on the furniture and like perches and like it, like will cuddle like a cat does, like curled up in a little ball on their lap, and like he basically is like a little cat. And then she put a little gif of cat dog.
Yeah.
One eating food and the other one throwing up food into the other one's mouth.
She's like, it's not totally a secret, I guess. They are known to have 9 lives.
Yep. And I said, maybe they get 9 tries of being a cat before they can switch to another species.
The superior species of a dog? Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean, human or any species.
No,
right?
for sure.
But not dog, no. But him, maybe. Maybe.
No, Lurk was cool, man. I love the shit out of that
I loved
cat.
it when I got to go watch Lurk.
Yeah, I forgot that you would watch him for me.
Mm-hmm.
He had so much personality. He was very social. I kept him as an indoor cat, and I lived alone in my own place at the time. And he just followed me everywhere. Like we'd learn to communicate, like I learned how to train him, which was super easy. He's super food motivated when you don't overfeed cats.
Yeah.
So I eventually was able to just get him to go somewhere, just snapping in a direction. He would always go to wherever the snap is. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first got him, he would always just get up on the counter as I'm trying to dish up his food and get in my business. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to feed you, back up. So eventually I learned to always snap and feed him a treat. Snap and feed him a treat. Yeah. Snap and feed him a treat. And then I just would snap in a direction. He would come running. I'd feed him a treat.
Yeah.
So he got to learn that when I snap, you go there. And then after I did that, he would start jumping on the counter and I would snap down by the ground and he would go jump down.
Yeah.
And eventually he got the memo and he stopped jumping on the counter.
Okay.
A lot of people are like, you can't train cats, but you totally can.
He was always, I don't know how many times I woke up with him on top of my head.
Yeah, he loved laying on your face, and he would
just do the little.
He'd make biscuits right on your freaking cheek or on your forehead.
He was a very affectionate cat.
Yeah.
But he loved playing with a laser and all the different toys.
Yeah, I would always play with a laser. I would have the giant rod with the string and the feather.
Yeah.
So you could just stand in one place and get him running 15 feet around you in a radius, and he loved it. He'd go flying through the air after that thing. He was cool. And then I actually had my recording studio in my apartment at the time.
That's right.
And people loved he would always come out and hang. He would lay on top of the speakers whenever we were recording with people. He loved being right by the speakers when the music was on.
Really?
But he would always come say what's up and hang out with whoever came over. He's always friendly.
He was super friendly.
Yeah. That was a great cat.
Yeah, he was a good cat. Love that guy.
We have another message. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you.
And also, come back. Tell me what the upside down, how that might modify that.
Yeah.
We have an email from Moose Canoe. It says, "Good morning, Danny Goler and Drool Gibson. The best way to properly inform someone that their breath is a manifestation of repressed digestion within the shadows of their sub-bodies. Place a piece of winter fresh gum into the palm of their hand, look them sincerely in the eye, and gently whisper, 'Please, thank you, I'm sorry, you're welcome.' Final thought before I return to broadcasting live from the inside of a hydroelectric trombone. Let's be honest, everyone knows that remote viewing is just code for peeping Tom. Don't smoke poison oak, Moose."
What the hell? What the hell did I just hear? That is amazing.
Thank you, Moose Canoe.
Dang.
I think that's super good advice. Don't smoke poison oak.
Yeah.
And I have yet to whisper, "Please, thank you, I'm sorry, you're welcome," into someone's ear.
But it makes sense because it's "Please take this, your breath stinks. Thank you for taking it because your breath stinks. I'm sorry that I'm telling you that your breath stinks, but you're welcome that I gave you this." That's great.
This is a good friend of mine that I'm not going to identify because his name is Moose Canoe. So,
thanks, Moose.
All right, cool. So, yeah, those are our messages for the week. So, Drew, you brought this.
This is the guy we had listened to before, that Shi Hang Yi and his wisdom. He's a Shaolin monk.
Mm-hmm. That freaked me out, and it was your ice maker.
Yeah. It happens randomly.
So, yeah, Shi Hang Yi. Let's check this one out.
Is your life satisfaction on circumstances where you have no influence on? If you have, well, then change them in a way that serve you. But there are many things we don't have. And to already right now, like realizing I cannot, as a small citizen, I do have no influence on whatever the politicians are going to throw out there. No way. And then it starts that you are realizing your life is in your hands. Your responsibility is make sure that inside you're always full, or that you're feeling full. No matter what happens on the outside, nobody can take something away from you. Because the gift that has been given to you is the existence, is this lifetime in the first place. We already have been given the greatest gift of everything, existence. Don't base your...
I like that one.
That's such practical advice.
Yeah.
And super wise, because a lot of people, they just get so worked up. And I've been guilty of it so many times in my life.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has.
I think all of us do. Like, I mean, still to this day, I'll get worked up sometimes about stuff. But I do find it a lot easier to disconnect from that and realize, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, especially when you realize it's something that's actually out of your control and you can't, like, you know, there's no reason getting yourself worked up about it. But taking control of the things that are in your control and taking responsibility for those things, that's where you find the peace. That's where you find the, you know, the fullness that he described, like being full.
Right. Those AI subtitles don't do it justice.
No, I know.
Being fool.
I know.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
AI transcripts are not good with accents yet.
I think he did say full. He's talking about like
He
filling
was saying
himself
full,
up.
like being full, but the subtitles said fool, like F-O-O-L.
I thought it was the opposite. Okay.
No.
I thought you were saying the opposite.
No.
Yeah. Practical advice. It's probably good to start the podcast that way.
Totally.
Anyway, we get some of this pyramid stuff because this stuff is crazy.
All right. So what have you heard about it so far?
So I purposefully, and I listened to a few videos, but I like purposefully didn't go too deep into it because I knew we were going to talk about it and I wanted to react a little bit more.
That's funny because I didn't actually I kind of planned to, but I didn't really plan to until like earlier today. I was like, I can't. I
had added a couple clips too.
Oh, okay.
So,
but yeah,
let's check some of this stuff out together live and react.
So yeah, why don't we start with this series of tweets?
Yeah.
This is Jay Anderson at Project Unity on X. Discovery siren, like dude,
siren emoji.
Siren emoji always gives me pause. I'm like, bro, you're overhyping. Chill.
Yeah.
Like siren emoji and all caps is a little much, but anyway.
But they do that to capture people's interests.
I know. This is why we're bad on social media. Discovery. There are massive structures 2 kilometers underneath the pyramids of Giza. This is insane. Huge. Vertically lined, spiraling, cylindrical structures discovered going down over 600 meters from the pyramid base to huge constructs below. Watch this now, share this now. So let's let him, this is a short little 3-minute video where he kind of goes over the basic details.
Briefly summarized, these findings allowed us to construct a 3D model of the entire complex. The examination of dozens of tomographical images obtained from different angles using Capella space and Umbra radars enabled a 3D reconstruction of most of the objects inside the Pyramid of Khafre. Below, we present some images from our 3D analysis. The analysis of the structures above Belzoni's chamber are intensely coloured spots which can be observed appearing in all tomographic images taken from different angles corresponding to the internal artificial structures. On the next page, it says that improvements of the signal-to-noise ratio revealing the internal structure of the 5 sets, consisting of 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. So this is the raw pictures of the data that they used to create their model. And this is the model. So it reads the tomography with another cross-sectional line showing the presence of vertical structures. And if you think that was pretty mind-blowing, it then goes on to say, as observed in the 3 model below the ground level, so ground 0 of the main structure, vertically aligned cylindrical structures extend for hundreds of meters beneath the Giza Plateau. Notably, 8 of these structures, arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descend to a depth of 648 meters, merging into 2 large cubic structures measuring approximately 80 meters per side. These features are illustrated in the topographical images and models presented. The paper then adds to that with some even more interesting detail, which is that the 8 cylindrical structures that have been identified in the tomographical image appear as vertical wells, which are hollow inside and surrounded by descending spiral pathways. It then goes on to describe the 3rd step, which is a lot of the analysis they've done based on all this data that they've collected. So they say the next phase involved analysing the tomographic data to determine the full extent of the underground structures beneath the Giza Plateau. The tomographic images clearly reveal that the structures exist beneath the plateau, extending below the pyramids of Khafre, Khufu, and Menkaure, for approximately this 2 kilometers below ground. So mind-blowing as all that is, there's still more to come, and this is just a little bit of the information that they have shared with us so far. So we can look forward to a lot more to come out fairly soon, and I will keep you posted. In the meantime, this is a look at some of the models and some of the data.
All right. So, whoa. When I first saw this, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Super excited. Like, obviously, I want to believe this, right? Like,
of course.
This looks awesome. Like, if this is real, and I still don't know myself, right? Yeah. But if this is real, this is the biggest discovery, archaeological discovery.
In decades.
Like, probably
ever.
Centuries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It would absolutely just like definitively prove the ancient technology theory, like that ancient high-tech theory.
Yeah.
So, of course, I want it to be true. So because I want it to be true, I've been really cautious, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, I want to talk about this on the podcast. Okay, cool. Let me start searching for the source of this information.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do any of that yourself?
No, I just heard about it. I didn't actually dive into who actually...
Yeah, because
what their background is and all that, and
right. So, like in some of the videos, they'll talk about like the team involved, the Khafre project, and they talk about the scientists involved. And so I started Googling the scientists. I started Googling the Khafre project. I started looking for the SAR scans, and I was like any search terms I could put together. Like everything was leading back to social media. Linking these things.
Oh, really?
So I was just searching, and I couldn't find much. And then today I finally found some stuff.
Okay.
So, but let's go over some of the details first anyway, before I get into like anything like that. But this is what started my journey down. Like I finally found this tweet with this video that I just played, and there's a community note on it that links to a research paper. So I'm going to get to that, but let me go into another tweet chain here that kind of talks about the claims. And yeah, so this image here is everyone is posting this image. Still to this moment, I have no idea where this image came from. I have no idea who created it. I cannot find a paper that has it in it. I have someone made this 3D model.
Yeah.
But I don't know who. And I don't know where it came from.
I think people who just got the raw data made it, like just average people. I don't know that the team themselves ever published anything like this, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is everyone who's talking about it is using this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks amazing, right? Like it's got a whole like relieving chamber, like the kings and queens chambers you see in the pyramids, where they got that series of stones stacked horizontally
with like a roof structure,
with like a
roof peak,
with like a slanted roof peak. And it shows multiple of these. Mm-hmm. And then below ground, it shows these 8 vertical columns with a spiral.
Some sort of spiral affixed pathway down it. Mm-hmm. Because they're saying these are hollow.
And they supposedly go up to 2 kilometers down.
Yeah.
Which sounds like spiral staircases.
Or springs.
Or springs, yeah. Because half the people are like, "Oh, this is some like
what
giant
if that's what
library."
Make them earthquake proof?
So now this is Andrew Coate on X. He says, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The news story broke. There's massive structures beneath the Pyramid of Khafre, something far beyond the tech level assumed of ancient Egyptians. What can back these claims? Extraordinary technology, synthetic aperture radar." First,
which is the new technology that they're saying has been used, right?
Right. So first, let's start with the optics. In general, a large lens lets you resolve finer and finer details. Roughly, the angular resolution goes like wavelength divided by diameter. This makes sense if you think about how waves are diffractive. Smaller waves or larger opening, less diffraction. So it's got some diagrams here. But optics just uses a range of radio frequency spectrum we call visible light. The exact same physics applies for radar systems, but radar uses far, far longer wavelengths on the scale of meters versus nanometers for visible light. What can we do? Make the aperture massive. So now there's a picture here showing synthetic aperture radar. It's got a satellite, and as the satellite orbits around the Earth,
multiple satellites,
it's shooting down this radar, picking up this radar image, scanning the Earth as it orbits, right? And by continuing to capture data as it orbits, it can pick up multiple views of the same area, and it can use all that data
to synthesize a 3D model.
Well, as if it was one giant camera. Yeah. This is like how the Very Large Array works. Have you seen that one from Contact, where there's like thousands of these or hundreds of these giant antennas?
Yeah, they're all pointed to different like locations or the same locations.
They all point to the same location.
And then they can see different angles of the same thing, right?
Well, no, the idea is if you point them all at the same thing, it can act as one giant telescope.
Right.
Right.
But it's taking in different data.
You could make one giant massive lens or one giant massive radio dish, or you can have multiple of them and you can use math to combine the different inputs as if it was one large one.
So they're using this in like a grid pattern or something then, or how is it?
Right. So
how's the satellite?
So by using the satellite as it orbits, you're able to
it's acting as multiple.
It's acting as multiple
and
antennas,
using the data together,
and then you're using the math.
I got it.
To combine that together.
So that's why it's
it's a gigantic lens.
So that's why it's a synthetic aperture radar,
right? Because it's a synthetic aperture,
because it's the same camera or the same radar or whatever, right? It's the same technology, but it's being moved and it's collecting all that data, and then it's synthesizing it all to make this picture.
Right. It's all being processed and combined together through math as if it's one gigantic image. or one gigantic aperture lens.
Because it's taking different viewpoints of the same object.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the technology we're talking about, right?
Okay.
So synthetic aperture radar is not actually new, though. It goes back into the 80s.
Okay.
What is apparently new...
But they've never maybe used it on this, obviously.
Right. Well, what is the problem with synthetic aperture radar is it can't penetrate super deep.
Okay.
So
I thought because of the wavelengths were lower.
Yeah.
Were longer.
Yeah.
Maybe it had a deeper... Like maybe there's even a way, like now with that technology, they have a better way of getting even deeper with...
I think it has something to do with how high power you can output from a satellite up in orbit.
Yeah. You need to have a certain power threshold to actually achieve what you're...
Like there's a big
about.
difference from like flying a drone over the Amazon versus like flying a satellite over the Earth as far as the power output levels that you can do.
But once you're in orbit, I mean...
Right, but you have a lot more atmosphere to go through and a lot more distance where like the signal spreads.
True.
So the amount of power you would have to increase in order to get a similar output at ground level.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's better than when it came out in the before.
Right, but what is apparently new is the way they're using like harmonics of the different images over time in order to like pick up like it's almost like diffraction patterns or something to be able to like use math to go deeper in the ground.
Okay.
Something like that. But we'll go into the paper that talks about that in a bit.
So it's using the different things, but also like combined, like seeing the like interference pattern between the waves, and maybe it can like affect it.
Right. So it says here, synthetic aperture radar does exactly this by forming an imaginary lens by sweeping the radar system across the sky, taking a succession of radar snapshots that are then reconstructed into a single image. The mathematical framework for this was developed first in the 50s and applied to airplanes through the 50s and 60s. At the time, these tested the limits of both radar power and computational image processing.
Right. So they had the technology, but maybe not the capabilities of getting everything out of it.
Right. These days, the SAR market is exploding thanks to decreasing launch costs, higher performance computing, solid state radio frequency amplifiers, and the resolution for SAR systems in orbit. Now enter Capella Space and the Pyramids of Giza. These systems provide the best commercial SAR resolution in the world, well, actually in space. Capella Space's latest platform upgrades bring the azimuth resolution down to 5 centimeters. But radar can't penetrate pyramids. How do you image inside to find hidden structures? This is where it gets insanely cool. SAR doesn't just give pixel by pixel angular resolution, but by looking at each component of frequency, they can also find the Doppler shift from each pixel. Doppler shift comes from the movement of the imaging surface relative to the wave.
So the fact that it's moving, it's taking that into account of how it affects the wave itself.
Yeah, and because the Earth like vibrates and moves, right? Like because there's movement, when that radar wave hits, that movement causes a Doppler shift, and then because they have the different angles, they're able to use those differing Doppler shifts apparently to calculate deeper.
Okay.
It says here, the exterior surface of the pyramids is slightly vibrating from seismic tremors in the earth and the atmosphere, and exactly how it shakes reveals information about its interior structure. There's a lot of math I'm skipping here, but you can reconstruct interior features.
So those are the images of the chambers.
This feature reconstruction is extremely impressive. You can make out individual roof segments in the King's Chamber.
Yeah.
By performing this process all over the exterior sides, you can start reconstructing interior passageways, vaults, hidden chambers, things completely buried and otherwise unobservable. So this is the source data here on the right. This is what the actual raw data looks like. And then on the left, this is them constructing a model, and they're finding these different chambers inside.
Because all of these are like trapped air. Like all these little hits look like trapped air. Like the heat signatures.
But clearly going from this to this is going to take some expertise, right?
For sure, yeah.
How do you read that and convert that into a 3D model? In the original publication, the authors reach a fairly profound conclusion that the Pyramid of Khafre acted as a giant hydroacoustic device designed to produce very specific and concentrated fields of acoustic resonance in the king's and queen's chamber. And I actually want to read that section from the paper, but
maybe we do that after the break.
Yeah. This more recent press release is from subsequent work by the same team, finding now that there are massive cylindrical wells beneath the pyramid claimed to extend 600 meters below the surface. This is totally beyond anything conceived of as engineering ability at the time.
Well, isn't there a theory too about there being like a well or some sort of aquifer or water system down way below the pyramids?
There's a lot of people who talk
and
about
that was like Ryan Dunn's
stuff.
theory, like of it being like a electrical generator or something.
Right. The
because of the way
guy.
that
yeah.
Because the way that it.
Or no. You're talking about Christopher Dunn.
Dunn. Yeah.
And then there's the Land of Chem guy who thinks it's more of like a chemical processing plant.
Yeah.
I'll link to both.
But the vibration of the water below it and the way it resonates up through it is the way that it creates chemicals because of the types of material and the pressures and the way that they have the different chambers connected with different sized tubes and whatnot. Like things escape into other chambers where a different resonance happens, and then it changes the makeup of whatever gas it is.
Yeah.
Or chemical or maybe electricity.
So Andrew says here, any indication of this from other sources? Incredibly, yes. Herodotus claimed that in the construction of the pyramids, 10 years were spent on the passageways and caverns beneath the Giza Plateau, while 20 years were spent on the pyramid itself.
Wow. Man, imagine 30 years for all of that.
Yeah.
Way back then.
The SAR team also claims, like Herodotus, that there are passageways underground extending across 2 kilometers of distance underneath the Giza Plateau. This is all utterly insane and cool. So I'll say this. Civilizations is likely way older than we think. And yeah, that's the chain. That's the thread.
Yeah, we should go back and read that after the break.
So yeah, the internet is basically on fire with this stuff right now.
Yeah.
And we'll dig a little deeper after our break here. So let us enjoy a song by Stevie Nader. This song is called A Swimmer.
When I was a young boy, good, 'cause my demons could swim. Demons could swim, could swim, swim. Demons swim, swim. Demons swim, could swim, swim. Demons swim. Though I try to drown all of the sorrows within, but I fail to do so, 'cause my demons could swim. When I got to the bottoms of bottles of sin, well, it did me no good, 'cause my demons could swim. Demons could swim, could swim, swim. Demons swim.
Welcome back.
Right.
Alrighty. This is actually our second welcome back, but
Extended break.
yeah. We got some
Kiddos waking up.
with some boogies. All right, so let's keep this going. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is, you know what? Let's do this next. So I did some digging, right? And I'm looking for, like, where is this all coming from, right? And I found a paper from 2022, but it didn't actually show these, like, columns below the ground, right? And I kept digging and I kept digging. I was like, where's everyone getting these freaking photos from? And I still haven't found that. But I did find this official press release, which is
clearly see in the background there. It says SAR Technology Khafre Project, and this is from 2022.
right. And like, I still cannot find like a website for Khafre Project or like any web presence. All I can find is this lady's video who.
I wonder if it's affiliated with like a college or something where it's like part of like the college's website, but like not, it doesn't have its
Maybe,
own.
but
even you would still think like keywords would still hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this lady, she's speaking Italian and it's got like an AI translation over the top of it. So it'll sound a little weird, but.
And take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but this is her announcement. And then, yeah, let's hear what she has to say and then we'll kind of go from there.
All right.
Press release. Giza. Discovery of an underground city. The legendary Amenti. Good evening and welcome to Expedition, the official channel of the Khafre Project. This is announcement number 2, and as the head of communications for the research project, I will now read to you the official press release of the Khafre Project, which has just been distributed to both Italian and international media. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great enthusiasm that we officially announce today our research team has succeeded in identifying a vast underground city beneath the Giza Plateau, which corresponds to the legendary Amenti. This city is mentioned in ancient texts as a place linked to the universal knowledge of humankind and its ultimate spiritual transformation. This extraordinary achievement has been made possible through the processing of SAR data obtained from Capella Space satellites. A pioneering technological approach to archaeology. The uniqueness of this discovery lies not only in its immense historical and archaeological significance, but also in the innovative method employed. Thanks to ultra-high azimuth resolution radar imaging achieved through specialized spotlight acquisitions with long Doppler integration, we have been able to extract precise acoustic information. In particular, the satellite data has been processed using a groundbreaking technique, Doppler tomography, developed by Professor Filippo Biondi, an internationally renowned expert in synthetic aperture radar, interferometry, and multichromatic tomographic analysis. This patented methodology enables the creation of three-dimensional reconstructions of underground structures, allowing the identification of corridors, chambers, and tunnels extending several kilometers beneath the surface. These new archaeological findings could redefine our understanding of the sacred topography of ancient Egypt, providing spatial coordinates for previously unknown and unexplored subterranean structures. The research team. A discovery of this magnitude has only been possible thanks to the contributions of a multidisciplinary team of internationally renowned experts. Dr. Nicole Ciccolo, a forensic handwriting expert with over 25 years of experience in civil and criminal investigations. She has worked with numerous Italian prosecutors and authored significant forensic analyses. Her expertise in deciphering ancient manuscripts has been crucial in interpreting certain symbols identified at the site. Professor Filippo Biondi, a specialist in radar technology and satellite imaging, with experience at the University of Strathclyde, UK, the Italian Space Agency, and the National Research Council. He is currently one of the world's leading experts in the development of SAR processing algorithms, with applications in space archaeology. Dr. Armando May, a historian and Egyptologist specializing in the study of pre-dynastic civilizations. He has conducted archaeological field research in Egypt and collaborated with numerous international academic institutions. His theories on the correlation between underground structures and the myth of Zep Tepi have guided the team's investigations. Professor Corrado Malanga, head of the research project, a chemist and former researcher at the University of Pisa, with a long-standing career in the study of consciousness and the phenomena related to perception of reality. His expertise has enabled the development of new interpretative models for analyzing the discovered structures.
So that's the team involved.
Okay.
There's a couple people in there that don't seem particularly qualified in the SAR tomography or whatever.
Sure, but maybe data analysis.
But the one guy, I forget his name, there was four.
Belenge.
Yeah.
He's the one that's like the advanced like researcher in like SAR technology.
Yeah. So it's cool. We got a multidisciplinary team. I dig that for sure. But I was a little like taken aback that this like scientific project was referring to like these underground cities and like these myths from like Egyptian times, which is, you know, cool if we get there, like if we can like prove all this stuff out, but like
the fact that they're like
to like make those associations as part of the press release at the beginning seems weird to me.
Well, I mean, unless you're just so excited about the fact that it clearly shows higher technology.
Yeah.
But even still, this group is specifically looking for this, though.
Well,
right?
I mean, especially
this group is out there looking for something that's.
But if you're putting it out as a scientific paper and you're attempting to convince scientists, then like leading with that stuff seems
is going to be it's going to be difficult.
It just seems like you're cutting against your own purposes there in a sense, you know.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Not that I don't I don't mind it, but
well,
I know that there's a ton of scientists who would. Like if you lead with that, like how many of them are gonna like be like and stop the video there, right? You know.
Well, that's probably what a Flint Dibble would do.
Funny you mentioned that. I actually prepared a little Flint Dibble.
Yeah, Flint Dibble in here.
Yeah, but I just want to talk about him and what he said. I suffered through an hour of Flint Dibble because I wanted to get multiple takes on this. But anyway, let's keep going here.
I feel like Flint Dibbles is going to be super reactionary and surface level. That's my guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wait until we get there.
The support of Capella Space, a new frontier for archaeology. This demonstrates how the integration of space technology and historical research can overcome the limitations of traditional archaeological investigations, allowing us to map the subsurface of Giza without invasive excavations. Capella Space's SAR satellites, capable of producing radar images with centimeter-level resolution, have made it possible to generate highly precise acoustic images of Giza's underground, finally revealing to humanity the existence of the halls of Amenti. Project presentation events. To provide an in-depth...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like saying, like, just flat out saying as part of this, like, this is the halls of Amenti. Like, how do you know that yet?
Yeah.
Like, no one's been in there.
Well, that's why I said at the beginning of this, like, take this whole translation as a great assault.
Yeah, for sure.
Because as much as you might want to believe what it is you're hearing, it could be completely different what this person that we're watching is saying.
Sure.
Because it's in a different language.
Yeah, so if you know Italian...
Yeah, verify this for us.
Please.
Look at this extraordinary discovery. The Khafre Research Project SR Technology has organized 2 exclusive conferences, both to be held at the Hotel Castello Artemide Congressi, Viale Terme 1010/B, 40024 Castel San Pietro Terme BO, Italy. March 15th, 2025. Seats still available. A press conference for accredited journalists only, which will be held both in person and remotely. All relevant documentation for journalists can be found via the link in the description of this video. March 16th, 2025. Event sold out. The official technical conference, featuring the research team, where the findings and Doppler tomography imaging will be presented for the first time. The overwhelming interest from the public has led to a sold-out event within days. The future of the project. In the coming months, the Khafre Research Project SAR technology will continue working persistently on new tomographic analyses and 3-dimensional models of the underground structures, aiming to finally produce a complete and precise map of what lies beneath the Giza Plateau. The research is set to continue throughout 2025, with all updates shared through official documentation and scientific publications, available upon request to scholars and enthusiasts via a dedicated repository. This discovery marks a groundbreaking step in our understanding of ancient Egypt and its deep infrastructural relationship with the subterranean world. It could lead to unprecedented revelations about the civilization that built the entire architectural complex, including the pyramids, which now appear to be just the tip of the iceberg of a colossal and hidden project. Thank you for your attention.
All right, so the other thing, and I don't think she mentioned it in here, because she talks about these like presentations that are coming up, right? March 15th and 16th. And
Which have already happened.
we're recording on March 21st. So it's already been 5 days. And I literally like scoured the internet today looking for more information on this stuff.
Yeah.
And if these things happened 4 or 5 days ago.
You said that this recording was from 2022.
No. I said the paper was from 2022.
Oh,
this recording is a month ago.
Still, okay.
Well, the paper I found from the same team was from 2022. But she didn't say it in this, but they also announced a paper that's going to be released, but it hasn't yet.
Okay.
So the only paper I can find from the team, like whose names are called out, is from 2022.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is the press release, right? Announce the stuff. They announce these dates. They announce these like conferences, and I can't find anything.
Yeah. It's behind a paywall.
Well, yeah, but if press is there,
I know,
and if scientists are there
you should be able to
get
find
the technical
and anything
presentation, like we should have some like real detail.
Websites to visit,
and maybe that's where these images are coming from. But no one's like linking to their sources, and why would they not like post up a website with? Because you can't fit the world inside your press conference. Like you should
Yeah.
be hosting this stuff somewhere, right? Like
Yeah.
where's the information? Also, like science doesn't typically have like press conference first, paper later.
Right.
It's usually like paper distributed around the scientific community,
And then it draws enough
arguments,
attention.
and then, you know, the press picks up these arguments and starts communicating it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And then eventually you want to do a press release or
sure.
like a conference to like solidify the information that was like
Yeah.
learned from these things. Yeah.
I mean, I get that this is huge implications. So, like,
Right.
maybe you're like, okay, I want to drop a press conference first. I could see that, but
I could also see this being like a
it
solo archaeologist working on his own.
or like a small team that's
Yeah.
like figured
Not
out
very
like
known.
a meme strategy for like releasing a thing.
yeah.
Anyway, like there's things that are weird about this.
Yeah.
So I'm like holding judgment, right?
Yeah. Until we get some more.
Yeah. Anyway, let's check out this paper. Okay. So this is the paper I found. This is from 2022. It's got Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malanga. So I'm just gonna, because it's 40 pages and we don't have time to read that, I'll just read the abstract and a bit from the end. And I'll scroll through and I'll post some of the images from this. But anyway, it says, for the abstract, it says, a problem with synthetic aperture radar, SAR, is that due to poor penetrating action of electromagnetic waves inside solid bodies, the capability to observe inside distributed targets is precluded. Under these conditions, imaging action is provided only on the surface of distributed targets. The present work describes an imaging method based on the analysis of micro movements on the Khafre Pyramid, which are usually generated by background seismic waves. The results obtained proved to be very promising as high-resolution full 3D tomographic imaging of the pyramid's interior and subsurface was achieved. Khafre becomes transparent like crystal when observed in the micro-movement domain. Based on this novelty, we have completely reconstructed internal objects, observing and measuring structures that have never been discovered before. The experimental results are estimated by processing series of SAR images from the second generation Italian Cosmo SkyMed satellite system, demonstrating the effectiveness of the proposed method.
Well, this Cosmo SkyMed satellite system sounds a lot different than that other system that we had just heard about.
Right. Okay, so they're talking, essentially this paper is laying out the case for this type of technology. So I'm scrolling down, you see these images here, and we end up getting all of these formulas and math and all these explanations for how the Doppler sub-apertures model works. Doppler sub-aperture strategy, tons of math in here. Someone way smarter than me would have to dig into all that and tell me the viability of it all. Then we got some images, more images from all these different angles. And then later on, they start looking at the tomographic results and comparing that to pyramid cross sections. And they show, so this is the tomographic data here on the right. You see this?
Yeah.
And this is like a diagram of the King's Chamber or whatever. And then these are the two superimposed. And honestly, like if you look at the image on the right and the image on the left, I don't see the structure as much as it's portrayed.
I mean, that's given that A is accurate, but
Right. Here's another example. This one looks a little better
for
to
sure
me.
it looks
Like
a lot more.
I see some similarities there.
Well, I'm curious what these like hot zones are. Like, is that trapped air, like a temperature difference, or
That
what,
would
what
be
exactly am I
those would
looking at
be
here?
like voids.
But look, right. But if we're gonna believe that that's a void, the void is within that green yellow area there.
Right. So blue
It's-
being solid and red being like hollow. And in between colors being the transition.
Right. So if you're looking at the running title for header thing, like right underneath that, if you go up more, it looks like that little chamber. I'm looking at a different image than you're looking at.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 17.
This one.
So right above that, yeah. So ABC there. You're looking at the yellowish green, like that's like the outside of the void.
Right. And so like there's going to be some inconsistencies. Like it's not going to be a perfect fit because the crystalline structure of the rock is not going to be so perfect that you can draw straight lines of the voids. But you'll get impressions for where voids would be. And if those impressions match up
with
to
what's
what we
known.
know are voids inside the pyramid,
Right.
then you can start to trust the data a little more, right? And then if there's more voids that are shown in areas that we don't know, then maybe because they also show the voids we do know, maybe we can trust that a little more.
Yeah, and like you go down to like page 18 here where it shows the chambers.
Mm-hmm.
Like
The relieving chambers there.
Yeah, like in A, it looks a little bit more better matched up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, on B, it doesn't look like it's matched up at all because like the heat would be coming from the trapped air, not from
It's not
rock itself.
Yeah, well, it's not heat. This is not a heat map. Well,
Void is, but a void of trapped
Right.
air would be hotter.
right. But this is not mapping like temperature. This is mapping.
Right.
This is mapping a Doppler shift in the SAR imaging.
I guess. Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily have correspondence to temperature per se.
Okay. It's just if that's a void, it's like the rock is the void then.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if we keep scrolling down, like, yeah, there's a bunch of images showing, photographs next to tomographic data. Anyway, they keep going in this, and if you keep scrolling down, it starts getting to these crazy diagrams and 3D models they're building from the tomographic data.
Yeah.
And they get more and more and more complex as you keep going. And essentially what this paper is showing, so this isn't showing the like 8 giant vertical hollow columns, but this is claiming that there is chambers inside the pyramid that we have yet to discover.
Yeah. There are.
So that already is pretty damn cool and also yet to be verified. And this is from 2022.
Right.
But I mean, people have been complaining for a long time about the unwillingness to excavate. Not that I think the pyramid should be destroyed on a hunch, but like more scans and more types of studies.
Well, and you can send cameras down these shafts and like figure out ways to like explore the pyramids without doing any damage. Besides maybe a small little drill hole or something, right?
Yeah. So as we get further down here, I'm going to go into this section here at the end where they talk about data interpretation. So what's their opinion of the data? So this is 8.2 data interpretation. It says, on the basis of the above, it appears necessary to provide a plausible explanation as a key to understanding the function of the structures found inside the pyramid. Taking into account that this interpretation is only intended to be a starting point for further interpretive ideas that could arise from a serene discussion at the level of the scientific community. The author's vision starts from what we have already previously published and widely discussed. Starting from the observation of the outside three pyramids of the Giza Plateau, for the first time we were able to establish that the three pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure have 8 sides. This feature, known only for the larger pyramid, is now extended to the other 2. According to an orderly manner, the water that flowed along the faces of the pyramidal structures. In the case of the pyramid of Khufu, which we have analyzed in depth, it can be assumed, in analogy with other authors, that it was surrounded by an enormous basin full of water, which allowed the circulation of some boats. The boats were used by some attendants with the task of bringing water to about 90 meters high, pouring it into the south shaft by using many rotating stones, probably similar to the Sabu diorite stone. The SAR technique allows us to put in evidence that the shape of the monument do not resemble a perfect pyramidic form because the presence of a double changing in slope, the first of which is 14.5 degrees at approximately 20 meters of high, and the second one of 6 degrees at approximately 100 meters of high. The Nile River's water should have filled the basin up to the height of the first change of slope of the pyramid, thus allowing the Egyptian boats not to get stuck with the keel of the side of the pyramid itself. The water would have invaded the king's chamber, but having reached the height of the granite basin inside the chamber, often referred to as the sarcophagus, it would not have exceeded that level in height, but would have instead risen in the north shaft, whose entrance is placed at the same height as the basin, creating an air seal that effectively airlocked the north shaft, whose entrance is placed... airlock the room. Sorry, I looped. The king's chamber is in fact hermetically sealed, would have caused excess water to rise up the north shaft of the room of the queen's chamber, would also be filled with water up to the height of the shafts by means of 2 connections to the shafts of the king's chamber, probably located in rooms 19 and 11. Building a closed circuit called Quincke's Tube. As also proposed by other authors, the pyramid with its megalithic structure was placed in vibration by the wind and the low frequencies thus developed, which acted as a low-pass filter, allowing only frequencies to bounce back on the roof of the Zed towards the king's chamber. Such a room would behave like an air-filled bottle of Helmholtz, in which the granite basin acted like a bottleneck, the walls of the basin vibrating at low and precise frequencies linked to the internal and external measurements of the basin itself, proportional to multiples of pi. Anyway, they go on to say that basically this would cause vibrations in the king's chamber and queen's chamber.
With the water movement, basically, right?
Right. So they're basically saying that like the water level is high, the water would have invaded the pyramid
chamber
in certain areas, and then vibrations amplified by the water would have caused certain things inside the pyramid to vibrate.
Okay.
And that they would have used that for certain spiritual or medicinal purposes.
Or chemical or
yeah,
electrical.
So this is the paper from 2022.
Yeah.
By a couple people who are also named in the new announcement. So I'll link to this and you can comb through it. If you're more of a science nerd than me, I'd be interested in your take.
So Corrado Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malenge
Yeah.
from the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering at the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow in UK, and the Department of Chemistry and Industrial Chemistry, University of Pisa in Italy.
So if you're seeing this, well, you will be seeing this about 2 weeks from when we're recording. So I'm going to also link to this video that has, at least right now, set to members only, but it's by the same lady who did the press conference, and
That's right.
says it's Corrado Malanga and Armando May and Filippo Biondi,
Those are
and it's a conference with them.
Yeah, those are the authors of that paper.
But it's set to members only, so I can't watch it. So maybe by the time you guys see this,
It'll
hopefully
be
this
open.
link will be
Yeah.
live. But I'll give you the link anyway.
Or if you're willing to go and subscribe and listen to it, let us know what you find out.
Right. Anyway, I also I was like searching for the opposite side of the argument, right? And I ended up finding Flint Dibble talking about this. He did a live stream.
Okay.
He spent about an hour and he started talking about it. And I say I suffered through it because Flint Dibble is so patronizing.
Yeah.
His tone, his attitude, it's so hard for me to listen to him because he's just so freaking negative and he talks about things with so much certainty.
Yeah.
And sure, like there is definitely like holes and like things left to be desired by all this, right? But he's going at it and he's just like cussing up a storm. He's like, this is bullshit. This is like crap science and blah, 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 blah. And like what you would expect, right? But obviously, like through it all, like the reason I'm listening is because I'm looking for his arguments, right?
Yeah.
And a bunch of his arguments are that it can't be true because it can't be true.
Yeah.
Which are stupid. But there's other arguments that are valid, like, or at least to the extent I can validate anyway, right? Which is that he says SAR technology has been around since the 80s. It's not brand new. And that the reason it's only of limited use is because it can only penetrate about 2 meters into the ground.
Okay.
And so it has been a tool in archaeologists' pocket for a long time, but it's
Up
been
to
of
2
limited
meters.
use because it can only go so deep.
Yeah.
However, I don't know that Flint Dibble has kept up to the cutting edge on what the cutting edge of SAR can do. And if you're coming up with new techniques for how to make SAR more useful going deeper, I don't know. And I don't think Flint Dibble is up on the state of the art of that is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the way he described it, he was so ultra confident that it's just impossible and it's bullshit because of the technique.
Right.
So I'm not convinced of that, but now I'm glad he made that argument because that makes me want to hear their argument for why they are able to push this technology that much further than what archaeology has used. And he made one really good point, which is that if you're claiming you've been able to turn this technology that's been known for so long into something that can penetrate kilometers deep into the crust of the earth, right? Then what we need to see in order to have confidence in your findings is what he calls ground truthing. And I thought this was a great argument. So ground truthing would be you use this technology on a bunch of areas where we know what the shapes are. We know what it is. And so go to some sites that are underground, that do go deep, that we have already explored and already have the data for.
Confirmed everything, yeah.
Right? And use the same technique in those spots and use it to set a ground truth.
Right.
He talks about like this is what had to happen for
sense.
carbon dating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Like you use carbon dating on things you already have established dates for.
Right.
Trees with very clear tree rings and you know their date, right?
Yeah.
Now you carbon date it and compare it against the manual counting.
Right.
And you do it so often and so much, and you run the statistics to build up a confidence level.
Yeah.
And anyway, I thought those were really good points.
That is a good point.
His tone was super dismissive, and it was hard to listen to, but
that's the problem right there. It's not that you're wrong in all aspects of what you're saying. It's that you come off as if you know everything, and everything you've learned up to this point is certified and will never change. And no matter what, you're never going to get to a point where you're going to allow this type of evidence to like change your mind on the dates.
Because maybe it'll happen that they will release their paper and it will be well documented, and then he'll have to eat his words. But maybe not. Maybe it is a bunch of BS. It's too early to judge. In my opinion, I want to see if they come through or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to go
let's
tend to the babies here? Let's take a break, and we'll be back. Enjoy Puppies and Chocolate in the meantime. Welcome back.
All right.
Yeah, that
Take two.
Baby break took a whole 24 hours. So
yeah, they were struggling with being all boogery last night, so they were hard to get back to sleep. But
yeah.
I came back down at 2 a.m. I was like, Dean, you should probably just let yourself out. So yeah, we're back. Day 2 of this episode, but ready to keep going.
Yeah, so in the meantime, let's start with that, and then, but yeah, there's been a couple more things about this pyramid.
Yeah, about the pyramid and the SAR technology and whatever. But yeah, let's start off with a quote from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. And I'll just start here. This is, let me see real quick. Book 8. Page 128. I don't know how that will correlate, but maybe you'll find it. Maybe you won't. As the nature of the universal has given to every rational being all the other powers that it has, so we have received it from this power also. For as the universal nature converts and fixes in its predestined place everything which stands in the way and opposes it, and makes such things a part of itself, so also the rational animal is able to make every hindrance its own material, and to use it for such purposes as it may have designed.
Interesting. So it's basically saying like we were made in the image of God, of the higher being, right? And that we can essentially do what we want with, like we can use the things around
We can
us.
use physical and non-physical abilities in a sense, it seems like.
Yeah, to like incorporate into our tool set for
In our knowledge and our
Yeah.
understanding of nature.
yeah.
Because think of like a lifelong God who's never known what it is to be a physical being itself. Like whatever it is, even though we may be created in the image of it and be part of it, it has never physically formed in itself. So we have, in a sense, the ability to reason as like a, the animal physical body we are, and able to like experience the world in that way, and have that knowledge as part of our tool set. But then we also are able to tap in to what it is to be divine and to like be one, and to like you are basically heightened in that way.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also yeah, just trying to say that, if you're created in the image of God, you basically have the power to do whatever you want. Like, it's kind of like nothing in your way can stop you, really.
Right. Except for yourself.
Yeah. Interesting. That was a cool one.
Yeah. Thought that would be good. I just pick these at random mostly. Like
Yeah,
I read
for sure.
like a sentence into it. I'm like, okay, it starts out good, and I'm like, okay, I'll read it. And I usually am reacting to it the same as you after I read them. But yeah, I'll just flip through pages, read a couple sentences of a paragraph, and then be like, okay, yeah, this sounds like something we might be into.
Cool
And I'll
book.
usually skip down a bit and be like, okay.
I like it
themes.
as a segment on the show.
Yeah.
Should we do a tarot card too? Because we don't really, we can take one more break before the end of the show, but we
don't have to.
we don't really have to. So.
Okay. Would you want to go through some of this stuff while I get this set up?
Last night after Drew was up, working the kids, before he told me, hey, might as well just go, I found a post by Jimmy Corsetti on this whole thing.
That's right.
So, and then Drew found one today by the Brothers of the Serpent, who are actually in Egypt now.
Yeah, they're doing tours in Egypt at this moment.
Yeah, so I kind of want to read both of these because I respect both of these people.
And their opinions on them, yeah.
I think they kind of line up with our thoughts anyway. So Jimmy says, my thoughts on the, quote, Giza pyramid discovery that could rewrite human history. The original scan results can be seen on the left, and they were somehow interpreted to this. First order of business. A third party should conduct immediate secondary testing and compare scan results. And a neutral third party should analyze and interpret both sets of scans. I highly agree.
Yeah, no, that's logical.
The most important aspect of this potential discovery is not necessarily the size/depth of discovery, but rather the fact that a potential subterranean extension of the pyramid could exist. That would be exceptionally strong suggestive evidence that the pyramids are a lost technology of some kind. As many including myself, have long believed. However, it is entirely possible that these scans have been massively misinterpreted and or greatly exaggerated. Make no mistake, I want them to be real. But it is a fact that it is premature to conclude anything. And it is exactly why everyone should be calling on immediate further testing and excavation of the Giza Plateau. Drill a hole straight down and let's see what we find.
Yep.
But based on the interpretation of this scan, it does seem to be wildly exaggerated. But we'll never know what the truth actually is until we go looking to find out. So let's not take 3 years for another scan. Somebody needs to get on it pronto.
Yeah, it was super valid. I will say it's anomalous.
It's interesting, but to Flint Dibble's point, like, where's the ground truthing here, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's kind of the problem. They never actually excavated or looked deeper necessarily.
Yeah, well, the thing is like we only have like a couple of photos. We don't have like a full scientific paper yet on this new discovery. We have only that other paper, which was talking about stuff found inside the pyramid.
Right.
This paper that they're alluding to that's going to be released is the one that supposedly talks about the stuff going deep down, right?
Week ago. Yeah.
Well, no, that was like a press conference.
Well, didn't it allude to the fact that that there was going to be a paper released on like the 15th or something?
No, there was supposed to be
the press conference,
like the actual meeting with
That's right.
I don't know when the paper itself was supposed to be released.
Well, it seems weird to do all this press release if the paper hasn't even come out.
Yeah, it's just not really how science is done. But I get it if it's something like that has such a like public appeal to like bring it out to the public, but not before the paper is out.
Like more data published than this.
It should be right. It should be like after the paper is out. Like the paper should come out, and then they should do this big release to get public attention. But trying to get all this public attention before the paper's even out just seems premature to me.
I will say a good place for the ground truthing to take place is like Darren Kuyu in Turkey, the tunnels under Darren Kuyu, where they have pretty well mapped it out. And if something like that can like show pretty like a lot more detail of like that kind of cave system underground,
right?
Like that goes pretty deep. That would be a good way to ground truth. And if it's accurate, then this is interesting. But if it's inaccurate, then this is just all noise.
But I don't see any line of reasoning that leads to this crazy 3D model on the right side versus this.
Yeah, I mean, especially because it shows
results.
that top layer, that bedrock, is supposed to show like the chambers that we are undiscovered as well.
Right.
Like it's not like they're doing like a accurate depiction of what we know from within the pyramids even.
Right.
So it seems like it's
there's
like
just
AI generated. There's not enough
information here.
I want to see if we maybe after the episode or over before that we drop this episode, go into AI and have them do a 3D model of what it would look like for some sort of underground like columns and like see what kind of image it generates from that.
Yeah, I don't know of any AI that would be good at doing that.
You don't think they could do an image of like a 3D model like this?
They're not really smart enough to artistic? They're advanced, but they're not people, right? Like you can't just give it like an open-ended like set of instructions and it can like combine text writing and image generation and all these things and supervise itself in its results. Like it's just not there yet. Like it might spit out an interesting image, but it's not going to probably be a 3D model even. You
don't think you could have it like saved as part of the prompt? Like
I just wouldn't expect
create
much.
a 3D because like 3D images, like imaging software that like creates these 3D images, these are published online all over the place. So and they're trained on a lot of these things, so like you could probably.
No, I'm just saying like you would have a purpose-built AI to do something like that. But like if we just try and get like ChatGPT or Grok maybe they do that, then then if you I just wouldn't expect much out of that.
So like if you could get like an open source AI that you like modeled to like train to do just this, feed it only 3D modeling images and like with specific text prompts that can like so you could like make it that way, but
you could you could train it on scan results and and then
Well,
grade it based on its outputs, and you could train it to do that. Yeah.
Really, what all I'm saying is like somebody saw this image of the actual data, and then came up with a prompt to come up with the image on the right.
I mean, I think someone took this image, threw it as the background image inside a Blender, which is like 3D software, and then started modeling on top of it to find something that's like a loose
Sort
fit.
of match. Yeah.
That's what I think. But
to be so inaccurate with like the stuff, or at least like unless you're saying like with all these extra chambers within the pyramid
I mean, there's
itself.
these weird lines that go across, but I don't see any other justification for these like spiral things that they put in, and they don't look especially spiral to me.
Yeah, we need to dig down there and find out.
Anyway, let's check out what the Brothers of Serpent said about this.
Yeah, so I found this just today, and this is from the Brothers of Serpent. They're in Egypt, in Cairo, and they say, the more we see about the new discovery under the Khafre Pyramid, the more skeptical we become. First of all, the interpretation of the scanning does not seem to show the known passages and chambers beneath the pyramid. Reading the paper from 2022, it seems they take multiple leaps in logic to describe what they already want to believe. Perhaps this new technique of scanning could be worth something, but I would like to see a control scan of a known set of underground structures like a cave system or a subway. Compare the results using the same method to an existing map. Meanwhile, we are here in Cairo. If there are any entrances to a lost city, we will certainly try to find them.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting if it all pans out to be true, but at the same time, like you're totally right that it seems like it's like jumping the gun on the data.
It's just jumping the gun. Like, I mean, and you could interpret it as more malicious than that. I don't care to go that way, but if you want someone to do that, like listen to Flint Dibble's video, he'll shit all over it for you.
Yeah, while cussing for no reason.
Yeah, well,
he's funny the way he was like. I watched some of it earlier, and he's just like so irate. Like, and he starts off with like getting all upset by the commenters on his videos.
Yeah,
in the live chat,
right?
And stuff. It's like okay, dude. Right.
He just, he's got that like air about him.
I think it's all. It seems to have started before or after Graham Hancock too, because I've seen some of the stuff like right after that he's like done interviews like right after that debate, quote unquote debate, but he sounded different, and it seems like he's getting so much more attention now. That can change anybody.
He got
like
a lot
any
of,
like normal person that doesn't get a lot of like social
Yeah.
media attention outside of like their friends. Like to be exposed to that can really like affect you. And I think he probably got exposed to a ton of people like coming after him and a ton of people even agreeing with him. And so it changes like your.
Well, the thing was weird for Flint, right? The thing was weird for Flint because like he nominally won that debate, right?
Sure. Yeah, he did.
Like he came off like to a lay person listening, like it looks like Flint wins that debate, and I would agree with that. I think Graham is getting old, and then it wasn't his best performance, and
yeah, I think he got hung up on the whole like he wanted to address the whole being called racist and like being called a Nazi and these things. Yeah.
Anyway, but the weird thing about like Flint is I think he kind of had this victory lap after that. But then as time went on, then you started getting more people like going over it again and finding all the inconsistencies of the arguments he was actually making.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? Dan and
from
Dedunking.
Dedunking, yeah.
Yeah, and a bunch of other people. And then essentially all those same podcasts that he was on and getting attention from
turned on him in a sense.
Basically turned on him and started acknowledging all the weaknesses in an argument, and like all that attention he was getting he got a lot more of like in the negative light, right? So I don't think he was ready for that either.
Exactly. That could be pretty shocking.
Well, and and from his position, right, as like someone who's like growing influence but not huge influence. Like he's no Joe Rogan. Like unless he goes on the Joe Rogan show again, like now the power of everything that has been said against his arguments, like how can he put out something to like put all that to bed? Like,
yeah, because the majority of people who ever watched anything about him are done watching things about him. So those people may not come back and see it. It'll only be the people you already captured that agree.
But anyway.
Cool.
Let's move on from this pyramid thing. I think it was interesting, but
it's interesting, and let's hope something comes of it in the near future. But
I hope we learn more, and I hope there's something worth learning that comes out for sure. Do you want to do?
Yeah, I think you put the intention on this week's.
I put the intention, huh? We're gonna do a tarot card of the week.
And I'm ready, so whatever cards you got, I'm ready to...
You ready to look at it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's an interesting one. The Hanged Man.
Yeah, the Hanged Man is an interesting one. What is a card to show us that will help us learn and grow over the coming week?
We got a full shuffle going on here. We're gonna get something good.
All right, let's see what we got. Ooh.
What do we got? Let me get some lights on for you.
This is card number 4. What is that one?
Card number 4?
Yeah.
It doesn't have any
It doesn't say the title on it. Or is that a 4 of something? It's just it's number 4.
See if we can find it. Yeah. Okay. It's the 4 wands. A 4 of wands.
The 4 of wands.
Here, describe that while I...
Yeah, so we've got...
I mean, we'll put an image up too, so if you're just listening to the podcast, go and find a video version or go on our website.
There seems to be like a castle in the background. There's these 4 rods, these wands or whatever, poles.
Poles, yeah.
That are in the ground, in the foreground, and they've got like greenery hanging from them, like in like a wreath. It almost looks like a maypole, like a spring celebration type thing.
Yeah, some sort of festival maybe.
There's some people that seem to be approaching from the background towards the poles in the foreground with flowers and wreaths around their head and flowers in their hands. Seems to be like a celebration.
Well, it's a very interesting based on what your intention you put on it. So the 4 of wands upright, meaning this suit, most often called wands and sometimes called rods or staves, represents initiative, ambition, drive, and desire. This is the suit of enterprise and risk-taking. A 4 in this suit is the teamwork card, often symbolized by 2 couples who have come together to create something profitable and enduring. Quite likely, they will create a gift for the future, a business, hospital, theater, or university. They represent the founding families of the future community that will grow around their inspiration. Teamwork is the key. It takes time to build a grand vision, and other people of ambition and talent must be attracted to it for it to fulfill its potential. What we see here is the startup group, the founding visionaries committing their energies to designing the blueprints and laying the groundwork. Their partnership is the prototype for society or any grouping where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So it says here, If we wanted to, we can read the reverse. Oh, advice position. Oh, so it shows all the different positions based on
Like if you
Where
what
you-
position
if you
you
did
draw
like
it in
a-
a spread.
spread. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll leave it at that, though.
Do the boys need attention? I hear him crying over there.
He's just flipping around. He's good.
Okay. All right. So I have well, we don't have time for all these, but let me just pick one of them. So this was the Danny Jones with Zoltan and Danny Goler, and this one, I think this is an interesting clip. So I think we should play through this and chat about it. And so let me know if you want to stop it and talk. But let's check out what he's got to say here.
All right.
This universal consciousness, this soup of everything, is one coherent consciousness. And it is, for a lack of better word, it's the absolute loneliness, because it has no companion. I can drop a paradox on top on this.
Please.
I can drop a massive paradox. Okay. So because it makes sense, right? That we should know. But knowing that we shouldn't know is also knowing. I'm gonna give it to
Yes.
you. I'm gonna give you into an actual experience that I personally had in the space, deep in the space. I've been there
Let's
hundreds
talk about the
and hundreds
DMT
of times.
space.
And there are different levels, and I'll give you an actual example when it's non-verbal communication. How data comes to you, you just know, and it independent of time. So meaning when you're in that space, you just all of a sudden know something, and it's almost like it didn't really take time. So it's not like there's a book of knowledge and it takes time to absorb that.
Yeah.
It just, I understand, and it's instant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this moment where I realized that we are being in that space, and when you reach us this idea that, you know, like what is that the Buddhists talk about, various paths are talking about this oneness. When we took off my hands from the cup, and then you realize like, there's this one consciousness, right? And there's the obvious question, like, why are we compartmentalized? Well, in that one consciousness, it's absolute. There is nothing else, just this one consciousness. And in that state, if you can absorb that for a second, it's the loneliest existence that it can be. It has no companion because there is nothing else but it. That's it, right?
Just one.
Just one. But that one, this universal consciousness, this soup of everything, is one coherent consciousness. And it is, for a lack of better word, it's the absolute loneliness, because it has no companion. However, in a second, you're compartmentalized. Now, in a cup, you're a sub-process, right? Then you're not in that absolute consciousness.
You're surrounded by others.
Correct. So out of a sudden there are processes and there is noise. There are experiences can exist, right? And so I had this perception of the job, our purpose is that every possibility can be experienced, and it's almost like your function. And it will take away some sort of an anxiety of human existence, because am I doing my purpose? Yes, we all do. Our purpose is to experience, live this life. There's no way out. You were born into this life and you absolutely have to live it until you're not living, right? So there's no way out. That's the process. And the process is that you're living at one set of possibilities. It's your possibility. Your possibility and your experience is not going to be anywhere near to anyone else's. It's very unique to you, right? And so this set of data was fed to the absolute consciousness. This experience, yours was fed, and yours was an all of ours. So this, the phenomena, God, whatever you want to call it, experiences all the possibilities, the infinite possibilities, and you are that subroutine that experience this one. So whatever it is you're doing your job. You're living your life, you're experiencing, and you're feeding the data. Now, you do have free will, and you can choose what you're going to experience. You actually do have that power. But the process is you are living your life and feeding the data, right? And in that particular moment, I had this understanding of, if I'm searching, if I'm out of the pen, searching for that consciousness, searching for God, searching for those things, if I was meant to understand and meant to know, it wouldn't be hidden.
But it would also not be foundable, don't
Right.
you think?
Yes, this is where they start debating a little bit, but that's an interesting idea, is that like human life and human purpose is to experience and to bring the data of that experience back to the one,
Yeah.
which is an interesting read on things.
Well, and he talks about like still having the ability of free will, whether you're oneness or not. Like it's like not absolutism or determinism. It's you are still given the free will of being able to change it. It's just live feeding data of your choices to the one.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how I see it. I mean, at least that's what would
Yeah.
seem like free will, as if it's you're feeding it as things happen. Your consciousness, the fact that you are conscious, gives that streamline of data. It's like a one way data feed where you're feeding your data to a central server.
Right.
That's harvesting all of the data from all the different nodes around the network. And when you go into this realm, it's almost like you're stuck in a program who can view all of the data, but you can't access it and like take it for yourself.
Yeah.
But then
Part of what he's saying there resonates with me from my experience in the space, because there was a sort of just acceptance that everything is okay, right? And like, even if you're not perfect, even if you do things wrong, like everything's fine. Like everything's fine.
it's what
Like,
you're meant to do.
if you want to like impose some morals on yourself, do it. Like it's good, you can do that, but like that's you doing it,
for you.
and it's fine if you do or if you don't. It's okay, right? Like and that's kind of, I think, what he's getting at here is like, it's not trying to, everyone is going to have their own personal experience and
Journey.
their personal data that they're going to bring back to this thing, and you have the free will to choose how it's going to go, but like it doesn't have to go any way in particular. It just needs to be your journey that you're bringing back, right?
Your authentic journey.
And that kind of takes the pressure off of
Well, it gives you permission to be yourself and to not
Right.
expect you to, like, you don't have to hold yourself to these high standards that
the standards
of
of society or
has
your
put upon you.
parents or
Yeah.
or even yourself in the past,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
sometimes we set up these standards for ourselves without even thinking about like, why do we want those standards?
Right. Are they your standards, or are they imposed on you
Right.
in some fashion? And we've talked
Or did
about
we
this.
pick them up unconsciously
Right.
and impose them on ourselves?
Right. These are the stowaways, the stowaway, baggage that you bring to your life from all past experiences but that's the thing. And then he gets into the idea of like, or he starts talking at the end there before they start arguing, I guess, is the fact that the knowledge is kept away from you is the understanding that it's not meant for you.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with Danny's argument against that, but like,
I was gonna
how
say,
would we
yeah.
have access to be able to find out some of this stuff then? And because we seemingly are.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. It's like nature can provide those things, and if we were to live one with nature like we were in the past, maybe it was just a a walk in the park for the humans existing on Earth back when we were more connected and we had more connection to the divine oneness or whatever, right?
This brings you back to the secret history and the
Exactly.
whole story of the primitive man walking through the forest, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, walking through the forest and everything spoke to him. The trees, the wind through the trees, the howl of a wolf in the distance, the owl perching on a branch staring at you. All of these things had meaning,
Right.
and were the divine speaking to you in code.
Right.
At least as far as we can tell, because
And I don't think we're going to have time for this whole clip because we're already getting close here. But he goes on, he makes this demonstration where he talks about language is a bottleneck for us. Like language is actually, it is a really cool tool that we have, but it's so slow and it's such a bottleneck of experience. And he's like, all right, let me prove it to you. I'm going to point at something, and we can do this right now. I'm going to point at something, and you tell me what it is that I point at.
okay, a chair, a basketball hoop, a fan, cabinet's floor. Yeah, that. Okay.
Right. Like
okay.
I can look and point and like set my intention
Yeah.
so much faster than you can follow, look, process into language and put it out. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it just goes to show that the language is the bottleneck.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Our bandwidth for experience is so much wider than this tiny little thin straw of language. It's like you got this giant big gulp at 7-Eleven and you got one of these little stir straws for coffee to drink it through.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I could see, like, I knew it was a chair.
Right.
If I just had the initial, like, understanding of whatever you were pointing at, if you were able to just have a feed or be able to relay the information from brain to brain without the communication, the verbal communication having to happen, yeah, it would have been quicker.
My particular example wasn't good either because we're looking across from
like
each
I had
other,
to
and so
turn
some of
and
the
stuff,
stuff I'm pointing at is.
Yeah.
But like you can keep up as much as like you can take in yourself as fast as I point.
Right.
Just like I can point, like, you know, and we can be in sync as
Right.
long as we're not using language.
Right. Like if I could just, like if you just did that and I just had to mentally make a note of it, and then like if we weren't timing, if it had no time
Sure.
factor and you were just
Sure.
pointing at it and I can figure out the accuracy of whatever it was that you were pointing at, without having to speak at all, I could have written or at least memorized what it is that you pointed at and then later write it down, and then we could decide what the accuracy was based on like knowing where the points were going in order.
But you can think of the concept almost as quick as you see me point at an object, right? But you can't turn it into a word that quick.
As quick.
And so I thought that
it's
was
a natural bottleneck. That's a good point.
Is a really cool demonstration of
just like computer code and having to code, like changing pages on a computer screen, like having to like make it all visual is like a bottleneck for that, like the simulation theory, like language is all the way down.
Yeah.
Bottleneck everything. What if the whole world is built on language and the vibration of language and the vibration of like, that's what creates physical things?
Well, but the language of like symbol then, right? Because it's not our spoken language, because our spoken language is like clearly this
obvious bottleneck.
This like shadow of the complicated structure that's in our head.
Yeah.
The word is just a very
representation
inaccurate,
of what you're actually thinking about.
But if you can speak in concepts, if you can speak in symbols, and you can speak in
like if you like would have getting across the idea that like all of your thoughts on an object in one go, you would have pointed at that chair and I'd be like, I hate that chair. But it's a chair, you know, like, but I'm thinking like that's my least favorite of the 4 identical chairs that we have.
Right. All of that is wrapped into
the thought of that's the chair.
Right. Right.
And that's like where my brain goes. It like comes up with all these ideas, you know?
You have emotions associated.
Yeah.
You have memories associated. You
sense,
have
smells, all these different like inputs.
Right. So
that
it's
all trigger.
It's more than just the word chair, right? Like because there's that host of information is in your head attached to that one symbol.
Right.
Right. Which just goes to show like the futility of attempting to describe the DMT realm with language.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because everything is so multifaceted in that way.
Well, and it imbues all the emotions. Like it's like a full experience without having to have spoken a single word. Mm-hmm. All non-physical, all in the brain, all experienced in the brain. It's so cool.
Yeah,
it's so cool. All right. Well,
cool. Let's wrap it up then for tonight. Okay. And I will see you guys. For me, it'll be 2 weeks after I come back from a
for me,
nice
it'll be
vacation.
2 weeks. For them, it won't be any time at all.
Right. For you guys, it'll just be a week.
For me, I've got to
the next show.
Yeah, I've got to suffer through an extra week of not being able to talk about whatever happens in the next week.
Well, keep track of all the stuff that you're going through.
We'll see what the world has
shows to talk about.
We'll see what the world has to offer.
Dude, yeah, everything's been going
changing,
on at crazy
man.
paces.
Things are getting crazy.
Yeah.
It's just good. It's all good.
It's super interesting.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all hanging out. If you guys were just listening along and you wanted to see some of these images and videos and anything that we're playing within the podcast, go check out our YouTube or our Rumble. And if you want to like and subscribe and comment, these are all things that we're trying to build a community here of people who want to have conversations and get into some crazy theories about whatever it is. We're working on getting a Discord together too, so I'm gonna get that up and running hopefully in the next month or so. You can check out our website, dualitycheck.net. It's got everything there, all the resources, everything that we put into our podcast is all going to be findable there. Reach out to us, hosts at dualitycheck.net if you want to email us directly. Otherwise, just comment, subscribe, hit us up on Facebook or Instagram. It's usually where we're going. We're going to get a little bit more active on X probably.
Yeah, and we might have some social media support from our nephew here coming up. So that'll be cool.
That would be awesome. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Adios.